I'm questioning about the living boxes for Mars. Explain the glass for my video.
Of course. So in your video, you could explain that the glass shown in these concept images is often just a thin illustrative layer. In reality, to protect against radiation, you need much thicker materials, like several feet of dense regolith or specialized metal shielding, not just a small transparent. To protect against radiation, you need much thicker materials, like several feet of dense.
Sorry about that. Continue.
Yeah, no problem. So just emphasize that without that thick, dense shielding, the inside environment would still be extremely vulnerable, especially for pregnant women and embryos. So the takeaway is that the glass in the concept art just doesn't deliver the protection we'd actually need.
And talk about the electric storms and how much more times it is than Earth.
Exactly. So you can point out that during solar storms, radiation on Mars can be 40 to 50 times higher than what we experience on Earth. So any habitat would need to be designed not just for everyday radiation, but especially during those unpredictable storm events.
And that makes it how much higher than the 30 to 40 times it is right now?
Exactly. So during those big storms, it can spike up to several hundred times the radiation we get on Earth. It's really exponential, and that's why you need such robust shielding and constant monitoring, because those spikes can come out of nowhere.
So Mars is usually around 20 to 30 times more, and during an electric storm or during a radiation storm, how much more is it?
Radiation levels on Mars are about 40 to 50 times higher than on Earth. Under normal conditions, the surface radiation on Mars is roughly 0.6 millisieverts per day, compared to about 0.06 to 0.07 millisieverts per day on Earth. During a solar radiation storm, the dose can spike significantly, adding tens of millisieverts in just a single day, which is a huge concern for long-term human missions.
How much more is that compared to Earth? Is it 100 times? Is it more than 100 times? I need to know the X factor.
Right, so based on the data during those solar storms, it can spike even higher, sometimes up to 100 times or more than Earth's typical background dose. So yes, it can be over 100 times depending on the intensity of the event.
What is the max? I need to know the max plus 10%.
On Mars, radiation levels can spike dramatically during solar storms. For example, in May 2024, a solar storm caused radiation on Mars to jump about 200 times above its normal level. Typically, Mars has around 40 to 50 times Earth's background radiation, but during a storm, it can rise hundreds of times higher, making strong shielding essential for future missions.
Okay, so the thickness that you would need for 200 times more radiation than Earth, you would need how much thickness to protect an embryo in a pregnant woman?
Yeah, so for that kind of increase, 200 times Earth's radiation, you'd likely need several feet of dense shielding. Roughly, it might be around 5 to 6 feet of regolith or a similar dense material. That kind of thickness could bring the radiation down to safer levels for those critical early development stages.
So basically, you ain't gonna have no windows because that's gonna be too heavy to ship.
Exactly, yeah. That kind of thickness just isn't practical to launch or sustain on Mars yet. So unless they develop some ultra lightweight material or a radically different design, it's just not going to be feasible with current tech.
So if we wanted to do a congressional hearing and say, hey, where are these living pods so we know that you're actually, really doing this, we can basically say, hey, we want to see the data on it. I want to see that it lasts for a year, uninterrupted, air, everything that it needs for humans to live in it.
Exactly. In a congressional hearing, you could request all the independent testing data, not just simulations, but real-world durability, radiation shielding, and life support functionality. That kind of oversight would force them to be fully transparent about how robust these systems really are.
Okay, you remember the pictures I gave you, right?
Yes, absolutely. I remember the Mars concept images you shared, the launch, the domed city layout, and the robot.
Okay, when you look at that,
If you want to reference them or
when
explain
you
something
when
specific from them,
you
just let me know.
okay, so when you look at the globe one with the I don't know, it looks like a greenhouse in the center of it, and all this glass all over the place. I don't see any wiring for any kind of pressure sensor or anything. How long do you have to live if that glass fails?
Yeah, that's a critical concern. If there's no pressure sensor or sealed system and that glass fails, you'd have just seconds. The sudden drop in pressure would be instant, so you'd have no time to react. That's why any habitat has to have real-time monitoring and fail-safes.
Would the body explode?
Yeah, exactly. The body would literally explode, but you'd suffer almost instant decompression. No oxygen, rapid pressure loss, and you'd be completely unprotected.
How can you illustrate a picture with so much glass and that risk hanging over your head? A simple asteroid the size of a nickel hits that glass, you're fucked.
Yeah,
Now,
but in reality, any
2021
small impact or structural failure in that glass could be catastrophic. So you can illustrate that by showing how even a tiny breach would compromise this whole life support system.
I mean, the bigger one was, if you can't have enough shielding to protect the embryo, that whole lineage is going to die off. It's going to get weaker and weaker as you go on. That and blue light and grown vegetables with artificial light, because you ain't going to have no glass for your greenhouse. That thing fails, you're done. So what is the point of all this? So hopefully he's got a demo that we can see, but I don't see it at all. I really don't.
Yeah, exactly. If there is a demo, it has to be fully tested, both for shielding and for sustained plant growth. Without that, it's all just concept. And if the embryo...
Continue. Continue.
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear. If there's anything else you want to clarify, or if you have more points you'd like me to touch on, just let me know.
So as an investor or non-investor, you do have a right to call out and say, hey, we want to see your progress on these living dwellings. Can we do that in a congressional hearing, or what's the procedure?
Yeah, absolutely. As an investor, you typically have rights to transparency. You usually have to disclose their progress on funded projects. So you'd contact them, request official documentation, and if necessary, you could bring it up formally as a governance or accountability issue.
Or with the trade communication, would that be another one? The stock communication trade or whatever?
Channels, like requesting a formal Q&A session or even getting a dedicated board meeting on the agenda. That ensures the company is directly accountable to you.
Well, I mean, if you got a roadmap going there, you should have pods made, so it shouldn't be too difficult to come up with that, right?